Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday Friends. I'm Deb Burton, the host and founder of RI Elder Info. We're the most comprehensive resource for seniors, caregivers, and professionals in Rhode Island. We use Friday Friends to bring information and resources to our community members and our viewers of things that you really need to know about, things that are really positive and beneficial. You can always find more information on rielderinfo.com. You can email me if you have a question at deb@rielderinfo.com or give me a call or shoot me a text at 401-585-0509. What we do here is just share free information. And if you take a moment and if you hit the share button, you too can be part of our sharing of information. Make sure that you like us and follow us so that you don't miss the most recent information that's going on out there to help people age independently and be empowered in their lives. So for today, I am happy to introduce Chief Richard Susi, retired. He is the Executive Director of the Rhode Island Association of Fire Chiefs. And Chief Susi is going to be discussing the Citizens Commission for the Safety and Care of the Elderly, as well as the Rhode Island Honor Flight. Welcome, Chief Susi.
Good morning, Deb, and it's great to be on with you on Friday Friends.
Yes, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
Yes. So tell our viewers what the Citizens Commission for the Safety and Care of the Elderly is, how it got started. Tell us more.
Okay, sure. The Citizens Commission, it's a long name, as we've talked about. The Citizens Commission for the Safety and Care of the Elderly is a group of, it's a commission of 21 people sponsored by the General Assembly. It's through legislation. Mm-hmm. And it's basically to provide resources and information to the police and fire advocates for the elderly in each of the police and fire departments throughout the state. It's basically a go-between for making sure that our police and fire advocates get the proper training and have the proper resources to be able to deal with their elder community in their own city or town.
Very good. So you mentioned the police and fire advocates. I don't think a lot of people know that their cities and towns have police or fire advocates. So can you talk a little bit about who they are and what they do, what makes them different from the other officers or firefighters?
And sometimes they're not all that different. This is it's not like a specific job that it's the only thing they do. Maybe in like a city of Providence or a larger community like that, they may have more of a dedicated issue towards the elderly. But in your average smaller town, North Kingstown, Cumberland, Lincoln, it's more than likely a police officer or a firefighter who, as part of his regular duties, also tends to specialize and know the resources and how to deal with issues that relate to the seniors in their community. They are part of our organization, and hopefully they stay in touch through websites and communications that we have. But they can come to us at least to get more information on specific things like hoarding, like scams, mail scams, phone scams, things like that. And that's why members of the commission are not only these 21 members of the commission, or at least that's what it's called for. We're a few short right now, but there are 6 representatives that are by statute members of our commission. The Rhode Island Fire Chiefs Association, myself, is the representative for them. Police Chiefs Association, Attorney General's Office, Fire Marshal's Office, State Police, and what used to be the Division of Elderly Affairs, and now it's the OHA, Office of Healthy Aging, for the state of Rhode Island. There's a representative from each of those groups on the commission, so that those are the important parts for dealing with public safety officials and the resources that can be shared between all of those groups.
So what kind of things could the police or fire department specialists, what kind of things could they help the public with, as opposed to, do they respond when a senior calls 911? Or could someone, if they thought maybe somebody might be being abused, but they weren't really sure. And as a little side note, when in doubt, report it. But if you're not sure, could you reach out to one of, say, the police advocates for seniors?
Well, what would happen is when you reach out to, let's say it was the police advocate, or if it was a police issue, you'd contact the police department, and hopefully they would contact their resource officer or their police, their advocate to the elderly, and put it in his or her hands, because they have a better understanding of how they may have to deal with it. Coming from the fire department side and the emergency medical services side of this, one of the more common issues is, when a senior needs to have the services of the local rescue squad to come and have, when they're having health issues. And that in itself gives the fire department sometimes the first people in the door to see the representatives of the fire department, because most of the time it's a fire truck that gets there first, just before an ambulance or rescue, whatever you want to call it. And they get to see what's going on. And if there's any situation that is either unusual or not quite kosher, and they know how to deal with it and can make contact if it needs to be a police matter, or make contact with family members if somebody needs to be notified of the situation.
That's really good to know, because I think, we have about 30% of the population over the age of 65 in Rhode Island live alone. And so they might need more help than people maybe want to acknowledge. You have that neighbor whose yard is overgrown, and you say, oh, well, they're older. But never having actually gone into the house to see that maybe the house itself is maybe not overgrown, but definitely in need of some attending, so that when the fire department does go in, that's their opportunity to have that conversation and reach out.
And that's part of the name also, that they're called police and fire advocates. They're there to advocate on behalf of whatever situation, whatever senior needs assistance in whatever way possible. They are meant to be more specialized advocates. And like I said, some departments may have more than one. Bigger cities like Providence probably have a few people that would be assigned to and specializing in something like that. Whereas a smaller community, they're lucky to have maybe one person that would be called an advocate for a senior.
So we did get a question that comes up, and I know it comes up more frequently than maybe people realize. When you're living in, say, elderly housing, disabled housing, many of those buildings are non-smoking buildings.
Yeah, I got to put my phone on silent. Sorry.
Oops, real life. That's what happens when you run a live feed sometimes. But there's folks who live in the high rises, and the high rises are non-smoking buildings. And yet, just like the teenager hiding in the bathroom, there are people who are smoking in those buildings. And, if you have breathing issues, if you just don't like the smell, if, you have real serious health concerns, what are the avenues that a resident might be able to take to really get that resolved, so that their neighbors are not smoking them out of their own house or an apartment?
And, and I can tell you, coming from this, again, from a real life situation, I have a 93-year-old mother who lives in senior housing up in Cumberland. I also have a 89 and 85-year-old mother-in-law and father-in-law who also live in senior housing up in Cumberland. So I am familiar with what happens and what issues might happen. And I think that they both know in each of their buildings that they can contact their, the representative of the administrative part of that building, and they can contact them with issues. But if that doesn't work, that doesn't mean it just stops right there. And that, again, is why we have police and fire advocates. At some point, if someone has an issue that is not being resolved, and it is a legitimate issue that needs to be addressed, they should contact the police or fire department and let them know. It's not something that you would call 911. Well, maybe it would be. It all depends. But I don't think we're talking about emergencies that require calling 911. And nobody should call 911 unless there is some type of an emergency. But there are the information lines that you can still call without having to call 911 and contact your local fire department or police department and let them know what the problem is. These buildings are non-smoking buildings, so no one should be dealing with secondhand smoke issues, to my knowledge. And again, that may I'm not the know all end all, but there is certainly a possibility that I can be wrong. God knows that happens, but but it's something to check out and go further with your police and fire department.
Yeah, that's good to know because for me personally, smoking a lot of times really bothers my lungs, and it makes it really hard for me to breathe. So, I completely understand when people are having these issues, and what the questions that have come up have not made me think that it was a 911 situation, but they could certainly call the non-emergency number of their local police or fire department. So I want to switch gears here for a quick second, maybe more than a quick second. You also do something very interesting. You're involved with the Rhode Island Honor Flight.
We are, yes, absolutely. As you know, I'm the executive director of the Rhode Island Association of Fire Chiefs. And back in 2012, the fire chiefs started a charitable foundation called the RIAFC Foundation, or the Rhode Island Association of Fire Chiefs Foundation. 501c3, and it was to help with training and to do good things in the community. And that year, one of our chiefs, he was retired at the time from the city of Providence. He was the chief of Providence, George Farrell, had gone on a family trip and saw in Baltimore something that made him wonder what was going on in the airport. That all these people were clapping and welcoming this group of what looked like seniors, very elderly veterans, coming into the airport and being welcomed. Well, they were on an honor flight, and they were on their way to visit their memorials in Washington, D.C. He found this out after, and he brought this back to our board. And we found out that there is a national honor flight that happens, that sponsors, or at least that advocates to have senior veterans World War II veterans to go to Washington, D.C. to see their memorials. So we looked into it, and the Rhode Island Fire Chiefs Honor Flight Hub was born basically out of that. It needed to be a 501c3, and we had that, and we were given by the national organization our own, what they call a hub. Well, since 2012, we've taken, I believe, 24 flights to Washington, D.C. We've taken over 650 veterans, most of which, I would say, I think the number is approaching 600 World War II veterans. We're taking Korean War veterans also. And like I said, we've gone on 24 flights. We've gone through the alphabet. We name our flights beginning with Alpha, and basically Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, and we go through that alphabet. And we got pretty much all the way up to where we only had Y and Z left. And then COVID hit.
Oh,
and basically, we had 4 flights scheduled. We usually do one in early spring, one in late spring or June, and then we do a couple in the fall. And those 4 flights all had to be canceled this year. But basically, what we do is take them to Washington, D.C. We bring them. It's a day trip. We leave very early in the morning. We come back very late at night, and it's a very long day. But most of them come away with saying it's one of the best days of their lives. We take them to the World War II Memorial, the Korean Memorial, Vietnam veterans. We go by Iwo Jima Memorial, Air Force Memorial. We usually have an appointment at Arlington Cemetery to view the changing of the guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. As a matter of fact, you can kind of see, we're on video, so you can see there's a bunch of pictures behind me. It's like a collage of pictures of us when we were actually laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and that's what
Wow.
the pictures are over my right shoulder. So yeah, we've done that about 4 or 5 times out of the 24 flights. It's very hard to get an appointment to do that, but we have. And so usually it's our 2 eldest veterans on that particular flight that would be, have the honor. And their guardians, and I'll explain that in a minute, but that get to place that wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. I hate to keep talking. I know you want to probably get in and ask a question, and I apologize.
No, this is great, because everybody who follows RI Elder Info knows, and if you're a new follower to RI Elder Info, you should know we are huge supporters of our military. Whether you are a veteran or are currently serving, it's my belief that if you have signed on the dotted line to quite possibly give your life for me to have a peaceful and easy life, then it's my responsibility to give back to you whatever I can to ensure that you have a peaceful and easy life. So we had Calling All Veterans Day in August. If you're looking for that information, it's free information that helps veterans age independently. There's a video, so if you're on Facebook watching now, you can just scroll down after we're done and find Calling All Veterans Day. Coming up in November, we're going to be doing some very special Friday Friends. And coming up in March 2021, we will be doing Calling All Veterans Day, the Women's Warrior Edition. So we do, we share as much as we possibly can for veterans. And I know the honor flight is something that is amazing. I'm curious, how old has been the oldest veteran that you've taken?
103.
Wow. Holy cow.
Yeah, 101, 103. We've had quite a few 100-year-olds. As you probably already know and can do the math, that any of our World War II veterans right now are in their 90s.
Yes.
There are none any younger than 91 basically right now.
Yeah.
But when we first started, we did have a few that were in their upper 80s but as obviously the 8 years has gone by, their ages have obviously gone up, just like all of ours. But I can tell you that they have been wonderful. The stories we hear on these flights and the things that they share with us, it's amazing. I can tell you that we're a fire service organization, and that's where our base is. But this is probably one of the best things our organization has ever done. And it has nothing to do with the fire service. It has everything to do with veterans and the service that they provided to our country. So yeah, it's great. What we do is, I mentioned guardians. They're veterans, obviously. We assign what we call one guardian per veteran. So every veteran has a guardian. I've had the great opportunity to be a veteran, to be a guardian. I think it was about a dozen times. I've been on 21 of the 24 flights. But on about 12 of them, I had my own veteran that I was that person's guardian. It was my job to stay, basically at an arm's length with that person all day long for safety purposes, for any need that they had, to help them, to make sure they knew where the restrooms were if they needed them, to make sure they got everything they needed that day. And that's basically the way it works. When we go down on a flight, usually we go with about 55 people. 20, 23, 24, 25 veterans, 23, 24, 25 guardians, and then staff. We bring our medical people. We obviously have our chairman and a couple of others that help out with other things throughout the day. We have a coach bus. We have a police escort all day long.
Wow.
They love that. We get driven around. We don't stop at red lights. We go the wrong way up Pennsylvania. We've got a motorcycle in front of us and a cruiser behind us, and we go through lights and siren, and we get to where we're going, and it's fantastic.
Oh, they're treated the way they should be. That is amazing. And that sounds like an amazing opportunity to volunteer, to give back in a big way. Do you guys need volunteers? How does somebody become a guardian? How do you, if you have a loved one who is from World War II who would like to do this? How do you get people enrolled?
The easiest way to become a guardian is to pair up with a veteran, because there's so much interest in this, and we've had plenty of people that want to be guardians, but most of our veterans come in already paired up with, say, a son or a daughter, or a grandson, or a granddaughter, a good friend, someone that lives next door, will say, a little bit younger, obviously, than them, that can, perform the duties of a guardian. But most of the time, the veterans come in and the applications come in paired up, veteran and guardian, and they are obviously, especially if it was a World War II veteran, would be on the next flight. A little of that is different right now because of what happened with COVID, and it's kind of sad that we missed these last 4 flights that were scheduled for 2020. And to be truthfully honest with you, a couple of people on that flight were 100 years old, or the first 2 flights of the year. We're going to lose people because of this that have passed and didn't get a chance to go on their honor flight, and that's the sad thing about it. And to be perfectly honest with you, talking to the chairman last night, we were discussing when we're going to be able to possibly take the next flight, and being very realistic, it might not be until next October. It's probably going to have to be some type of a vaccine. Remember, this is the absolute most at-risk population that we could be taking and traveling and putting them on a plane and putting them in a bus.
Yep.
It's everything is wrong with an honor flight in a pandemic. So things really will have to change before we can take that next flight. But there is a RI Honor Flight website, rihonorflight.com.
Okay.
People can download applications, from that. But we're going to try and get the people that were already scheduled on the first 2 flights, and we're going to put it together and probably purchase seats, purchase the whole plane. Last night, the chairman and I were talking about, he's putting 3 coach buses on hold for next October. And, we're hoping to take a big flight. We've done it before. It's a little bit more, a little harder to do, a little change in the experience. We've always found that the 55 passenger bus and the 55 people going down always was the best experience. We were all in the same bus, all hearing and seeing the same things at the same time. But, to do it, we've got to get caught up. And if we have to make, a really big flight next October, that's what we're kind of looking at. We still don't really know because there's a lot to learn between now and then. So
yeah, absolutely. And I would think if you wanted to charter and buy out extra seats on a plane, or to charter extra buses so that there can be social distancing among people, I would imagine the expense on that racks up pretty quickly. Do you guys take donations? How do you get funded?
Yeah, we definitely take donations, and there is a mechanism on the website for that. We also have sponsors for our flights. We've had some of the best sponsors that you can think of. Ocean State Job Lot, a whole plane for that was our biggest flight, was sponsored by Ocean State Job Lot, and it wasn't just from Rhode Island. We had 3 planes, one from New Hampshire, one from Rhode Island, and one from New York, that all converged on Washington, D.C. at the same time, all sponsored by Ocean State Job Lot. But I mean, we've had, each flight gets 1, maybe 2 sponsors, and some of the best companies and sponsors that we could possibly have. Basically, they are paying, pretty much like $15,000 to $20,000 that covers the purchasing of the seats on the planes for the veterans, and that basically gets them a sponsorship up to even $25,000 sponsors. And obviously the Ocean State Job Lot one was even way more than that. But everybody's wearing different sweatshirts, and the sponsor's name is on the back of it. So it gives them a little bit of an opportunity as well to be seen and seen as the great community representative that they are, sponsoring an honor flight. But it's been one of the easier things to raise money for. Let's say, we're in the fire service, and we're a charitable organization. We try to raise money in different ways, but Honor Flight not only has become its own entity, because it has in 2015, the National Honor Flight required that it have its own board and separate away from the Fire Chiefs Foundation. And now it's basically the Rhode Island Fire Chiefs Honor Flight as its own board, its own separate 501c3. And it's been, we have people that are lining up that want to be, sponsors to this organization.
That is awesome. And then I recall seeing, I don't know if it was earlier this year or the end of last year, you had the first women warrior honor flight.
We did. Yeah, that was very interesting. There were only a few of us guys on that flight. There were mostly women on that flight. They were the chairman and myself are not, obviously not, but so we were on it, and a few others, our medics. But yeah, that was fantastic. A lot of women were very interested to see that happen, and it's something that people should understand, that women played a big role, in our past service as veterans, and currently do as well. But I mean, we're looking backwards, and on the very first flight that we had, my wife was a guardian to Lucy Amott, who she just passed away 2 months ago. But she was the sole woman on it. It was kind of a trial flight. It was the first flight. There were only 10 veterans. Only 25 of us flew down. So 10 veterans, 10 guardians, 5 staff, with our medics and everything. And she was a great person. She was funny. She sang. She was amazing. But life goes on. We're so glad that she was able to be on that first flight as a woman, and we were able to take her to the Women's Memorial. And the women's flight basically did the same, only times 24 or 25.
That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. I think that's an amazing program. I might have to recruit someone so I can be a guardian to participate.
That's why it's so sad that we've had to, because of COVID, and 2020 has just not been a good year for us, that we've had to put the whole program on hold. And we kept pushing it off and pushing it. Okay, well, we'll see what it looks like in June. We had a September 15th flight booked, canceled that. We didn't even book the November one, because the late October, November one.
Yep.
Because at that point we realized, okay, this is going much further than we thought, and now we're realizing that even when things change, it's going to be a slow change to be able to put this back to what it once was. And that's why we're unfortunately looking at next October.
But still, next October comes quickly. It comes quickly for nonprofits. I understand the whole COVID thing. We had Calling All Veterans Day scheduled to be an in-person event at the URI Ryan Center, and we're expecting, hundreds and hundreds of people. And like you said, it is the most vulnerable who would be attending. So it put the brakes on our in-person.
Yeah.
But for RI Elder Info, the positive that has come out of this is it really has pushed us online more, and we are reaching a lot of people on a regular basis. So that's been a positive that's come out of this. So, a year from now, it comes up quickly. So you're fundraising, I'm sure looking at fundraising now for next October. I'm sure you're taking applications for next October. And because it'll kind of be like it's over, we can do this again. I am envisioning a tremendous celebration for it. So I think it's going to be huge when it does it.
I think you're probably right about that. It's already a big celebration. When we arrive at the airport at 5:30 in the morning, there's a whole bunch of people, including the bagpipe band, the Rhode Island Fire and Police bagpipe bands are there, and everything. So it's already a big deal. I think it's going to be an even bigger deal when we finally get going again. You're right.
This is awesome. This is awesome. I really appreciate you coming on today. So if anybody needs help, reaching out to their local police or fire department, there is an advocate there for you. The commission does training for those advocates to make sure that they're up to date and know the current resources and what's available out there. And all right, Honor Flight, Chief, I think I will have you come back for another event, our Women's Warrior event coming up March 18th in 2021 to talk about this again. Maybe we can have another all women's flight. going down. That would be awesome.
I look forward to it. Yeah.
Yes, and if people wanted to donate, you said they just go on the rihonorflight.com.
rihonorflight.com. As a matter of fact, I think I saw it. There it is. There's the the website just got put up. You have some good technical staff. Look at that.
Yes, yes. Well, Chief, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
This has been great.
All right. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I hope you've hit the like button and the follow button and shared it as well, because as you can tell, there's a lot of information that's getting shared out here and people really need it. I look forward to seeing you all next week. Be well, and if you have a chance, make someone smile. Thank you.